Well, good evening, East Alabama and West Georgia. Dr. Don on your Sunday afternoon. Going to give you a little update on Tropical Storm Fred and the impacts we expect to see across East Alabama and West Georgia as the storm makes landfall late on Monday into Tuesday. So let's get started with the Storm Prediction Center Convective Outlook, and this is your outlook for tomorrow. Tomorrow being Monday, August the 16th. We are expecting the possibility of severe weather, I think late in the day, probably more so during the overnight hours on Monday night into Tuesday. And that risk of severe weather is marginal at this point. So that's really a 1 out of 5. So you can see that we're not anticipating a major outbreak of severe weather, but anytime you have a tropical system, especially a landfalling tropical system in the area, you cannot rule out the possibility of a severe thunderstorm, torrential tropical downpours, and even a spin-up tornado or two. You know how that works out there on the edge of those feeder bands. As those feeder bands start to turn and curl as they rotate back toward the center of circulation, because of that angle, you can get those spin-up tornadoes, and we could have some very short-fused warnings. You don't necessarily have much warning at all in this type of setup, so we want you to know that there is that possibility of severe weather Monday afternoon late, probably more so during the overnight hours into Tuesday morning, and that would be all across East Alabama and West Georgia. I think the greatest threat is going to be south of I-85, but anywhere south of I-20 could certainly see a severe thunderstorm or a tornado warning or two on Monday afternoon late into Monday night and during the overnight hours Monday night into Tuesday morning. So what's going on? Well, we have 3 areas of concern. Fred, of course, is the closest to us, and that's the one that will be affecting our weather across East Alabama and West Georgia coming up in the next 24 to 48 hours. As of 4 o'clock this Sunday afternoon, the maximum sustained winds are at 45 miles per hour. Minimum central pressure is at 1,007 millibars. Fred is located at 26.8 north or 85.3 west. Movement is to the northwest at around 10 miles per hour. The next area of concern is out here in the tropics. That is Tropical Storm Grace, or Tropical Depression Grace, I should say. And as of 5 o'clock, Grace, maximum sustained winds at 35 miles per hour. So we're not far off from seeing a tropical storm there. Minimum central pressure is 1,011 millibars, located at 17.0 north, 67.3 west. Movement is to the west at around 15 miles per hour. We're thinking Grace is going to continue a very, very similar track to what we saw Fred take. But we think Grace may make it out into the central Gulf of Mexico and may actually end up over here in Texas, or certainly somewhere around the Texas-Louisiana border before curving back to the north and eventually northeast. So while I don't think Grace will be a direct impact on East Alabama and West Georgia, by next weekend, we certainly could see some more rain from Grace as she makes landfall, most likely in the western or northwestern Gulf of Mexico. And then our last stop is disturbance number 1. We are giving that a 70% chance of formation over the next 5 days. But here's the good news. This disturbance is drifting to the southwest currently, but we anticipate it getting picked up with a front, which will turn it back up to the north, eventually to the northeast, and kind of do a curlicue right back out into the Atlantic. Not anticipating any problems mainland from that red X there that you see on the screen. So there are several screens I want to show you, or several different products I want to show you this afternoon. Here is the latest cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center. And you'll remember, if you've been following Fred, with every update, we were shifting the track further west. I mean, we headed all the way over to the Mississippi-Alabama state line this morning, but now it has shifted back to the east, and it's back to a very, very similar track that we were showing you over 48 hours ago. So I think the Hurricane Center probably should have stuck with their story. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it because I think they're going to end up. They had this thing right about 48 hours ago because I like this track. I think this is exactly what we're going to end up with. And you can see the track is going to bring it right in between Pensacola and Destin, maybe Fort Walton, maybe Panama City. Anywhere from Panama City to Pensacola, I think is where the likely landfall will be on this storm. And that will be late tomorrow afternoon, after 3 p.m., I think. And then it's going to come right up into southeast Alabama. Maybe right up into the Enterprise, Dothan area, and then continue to ride to the north and eventually curving off to the northeast, and I think coming right over East Alabama. Randolph County, if this track ends up being the correct track, it's coming right over you. I'll show you that in just a few moments, and it really doesn't mean a whole lot. This is not a hurricane. We're not looking at anything like Hurricane Opal or anything like that at all. We're talking about some gusty winds, 25 to 35 miles per hour tops, and we're talking about some torrential downpours. Now, the rain could be an issue, 2 to 4 inches. Some localized spots could see 5 to 6 inches, and we could have a few spin-up tornadoes across East Alabama and West Georgia. And then by 1 a.m. Wednesday, we're looking at a depression that will be way up there in Tennessee, probably very close to Dollywood, if you have plans of heading up there toward the end of the week. So I think the worst of the weather will be probably after midnight, Monday night through 1 or 2 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon across East Alabama and West Georgia. So let's continue our tour. Another stop for you. This is the spaghetti model. You can see that all of the guidance is really grouped up tightly now, and we're showing that landfall again somewhere around Panama City Beach, Florida, and then continuing to the north right across Enterprise up there through Ozark and Troy, and then making it across I-85 somewhere just west of Auburn, and then across portions of Tallapoosa County up into Randolph, and then up into Cleburne County, and then clipping the extreme northwest sections of the state of Georgia before ending up there around Gatlinburg, Tennessee by Wednesday morning. So there's the latest radar shot from the National Hurricane Center showing the convection out there. And you got to really look close to see the center of circulation, but it's there. If you'll look at that purple line there, that just got shorter. If you'll look just to the right of it, you see a big opening right there. That's the center of circulation of Tropical Storm Fred. Fred is not expected to go to hurricane status. It just doesn't have time. And poor old Fred has just been beat up out there, had to deal with Cuba, and now it's having to deal with some shear conditions out in the Gulf of Mexico. So Fred's just, he's really been hard-headed. He hasn't gone away, but he is really taking a beating out there in the Gulf of Mexico. But he's going to have one little last hoorah because he's going to dump a good bit of rain across the southeastern United States. Now, if you're down there in Florida, if you're in Panama City, especially if you're in Panama City and points east all the way back over to Jacksonville, or even up into the southeast areas of Georgia, copious amounts of rain on the way. Wouldn't it all be surprised to see some 8, 9, or 10-inch rain totals recorded down there from Panama City back over to Apalachicola and maybe even all the way back down to Tampa? But that area is used to this, and though that will cause some street level flooding, I don't think we're looking at inland major flooding with this storm. But yeah, pay attention to your local emergency management offices. If you're down there in Florida, take their advice and heed their warnings as we get into the meat of this thing by midday tomorrow for Northwest Florida. All right, so now let's take a look at a couple of other things. I want to go over to the Southern Union State Community College Live Doppler HD radar. This is the current radar shot, and this also has all of the watches and warnings highlighted there for you for down there in southeast Alabama, northwest Florida, and southwest Georgia. We'll start in Georgia. We have a flash flood watch now in effect for all of southwest Georgia. That includes the greater Albany area and points to the southwest down there around Lake Seminole. We also have a tropical storm warning that's now been placed in effect for the extreme southwest corner of the state of Georgia. A tropical storm warning is now in effect for the extreme southeast corner of the state of Alabama. That includes Dothan, that includes Enterprise, Elba, back over toward Headland, Abbeville, down to Marianna, Florida, in the state of Florida, and then down to Tallahassee. Down in northwest Florida, back over to Port St. Joe. Tropical storm warnings are all the way back out toward Pensacola. So if you're down there at the beach, if you're at Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, Mobile, you're in pretty good shape there. I think you're going to be on the left side of the storm, which is the correct side to be on. But from Pensacola all the way over to Tallahassee and anywhere along the Gulf Coast there, copious amounts of rain on the way. Those thunderstorms, maybe water spouts right there on the shore. Of course, the rip currents are going to be just horrible down there. So right along the beach is going to get the brunt of this. But here again, folks, we're not talking hurricanes, so we're not looking at any major destruction from hurricane force winds. We certainly could have some isolated tornadoes that could cause some problems down there. And then we have a flash flood warning already in place down there around Gainesville, Florida, stretching all the way up to the Georgia state line along I-75. So that's from the heavy rains that have been going on down there all day long. All right, so again, we're expecting the landfall to come sometime late tomorrow afternoon, maybe near Panama City or between Panama City and the historic 30A over there at Seagrove Beach. Maybe we're looking at a landfall right there around Seagrove or Seaside, somewhere just to the west of Panama City. And then the storm's going to continue north just to the east of Freeport, Florida, crossing I-10, and then up into Geneva County, which is in South Alabama, then turning back to the northeast, just west of Enterprise, near Elba, Alabama. And then we'll see the eye of the storm come right over Troy University down there in Pike County, and then up across Union Springs, crossing over Tuskegee right there on I-85, extreme western Lee County, just west of Auburn, maybe down there around Lochapoka. And then coming across 280 somewhere around Camp Hill, across extreme northwest Chambers County, hello, Abanda, Alabama, and then across Randolph County, maybe very close to Dickard out there on Highway 22, and then right across Wedowee, Woodland, and then Ranburn before it gets up into the state of Georgia. But again, folks, don't panic if I just called out your name of your town. Odds are it won't come in a straight line exactly like that. And it's not going to matter. I mean, we're not talking about a hurricane here. And the effects of this storm will be far-reaching, not just right along that track, all the way to the east. We're going to see showers and thunderstorms. I mean, you can already see what's happening up here in northwest Alabama, a line of very heavy thunderstorms from Huntsville all the way back to Jackson, Mississippi. Though not directly associated with Fred, some of that tropical moisture is streaming north, which is enhancing these showers and thunderstorms that are out there this afternoon. A few showers also down in Chambers County, Alabama. So if you see this cone and you're wondering what in the world is that, are those the areas that are going to get the worst of the weather? Well, the answer to that is no. This is the cone of uncertainty. This is the area where the National Hurricane Center builds in a margin of error, saying that the center of circulation, which would be this black dot down here, could rotate north anywhere within these two outer lines, which is the boundary or the polygon of the cone of uncertainty. So that's all that means. It doesn't mean that if you're over here in Macon outside this white line, you're going to be just fine. Matter of fact, Macon, you're going to get a lot of rain out of this thing, and you'll be in that area also where we could see a few pop-up tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. So there you go, folks. That's the latest on what we're looking at with Fred. I'll be back in here with you first thing tomorrow morning with your primetime forecast. And then as we get into Monday afternoon and Monday night, if conditions deteriorate and it becomes necessary necessary, I will go live with you right here on Dr. Don's Weather. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your Sunday. We'd love for you to support us. You can go to drdonwx.com. There's a donate button right there on the top of our page. And we'd ask that you support us, do what you can. We greatly do appreciate it. That keeps us going here at Dr. Don's Weather. I'll see you back in here tomorrow morning with another update on Tropical Storm Fred and your primetime forecast. I'll see you then. Bye now.